This video is intended to take you through our next project, which is titled We're Going Places. This is a design project and it's also a competition, so I will give you some details about that. I am recording this for the 2021-2022 school year, so the dates on this video are going to correspond with that school year. If I am using this video in a future year, you're going to ignore the specific due dates and go with whatever due dates I give you for whatever school year that we're in, okay? But the project, if I'm using the video, it means the project is outlined the same way. So let's get into it. I started doing this several projects ago where I just want to give you the deliverables right up front so that as we're talking about what the project is going to be, you know, oh, like this is the, you know, I need to make sure I pay attention to this piece because this is something I'm going to have to turn in for a grade. So you are going to need to turn in your brainstorming. You will sketch and write a brief description of at least 6 ideas that you and your partner will brainstorm for the project. I know brainstorming is one of the most difficult things that we do because it's so easy to lock in on that first idea. Like you see something online, you have this like awesome idea, and it probably is an awesome idea. And then we lock in on it and we don't want to let any ideas in because that's the idea we have to go with. But that's not good engineering and it's not a good way to approach problem solving. You really need to work on being open to other ideas that you might like better. These will be submitted on a small board with post-it notes, and I'll give you some more details on that in the upcoming slide. You will also need to submit a .stl file of your design to be 3D printed. So if everything goes well, we will be 3D printing your luggage tags that you design. I haven't said what it was yet. It's a luggage tag. So you're going to submit that. And of course, I'll give you the directions for how you generate that kind of file. It's the kind of file that we need to have in order for Fusion to be able to like talk to the 3D printer to have the 3D printer print it. And then you will write a final write-up that briefly, big capital letters there, briefly describes the concept behind your design to be submitted to a department teacher or coach for evaluation. And the winning design in each category will receive a prize. Everybody's really busy and nobody wants to read a 5-page description about the concept behind your design and your entire design process. So when I say briefly, I mean briefly. We want to keep this user-friendly for the people that are going to be voting on your design so that they are not having to do like a lot of extra work. We want to keep it fun for them. So what is the task? I mentioned kind of offhandedly on the last slide that your task is going to be design a luggage tag. Now, a luggage tag is for suitcases. If you've traveled, then you are familiar with when you like check your bag at the airport, you put a tag on it that identifies the bag as yours. And a lot of times airlines will give them out for free. Sometimes your suitcase might come with one, but you can also like buy them and you can buy like custom ones that just like anything else, like it's a little accessory. Yours is going to be designed around an academic or school related theme. They might not all be academic necessarily, like having to do with something you study, but something that you do or participate in at school. Here are the criteria. Your luggage tag must be able to be attached to a standard suitcase. So if you submit some design and there's no way that your design can be attached to a suitcase, then it is a really bad design. So if your design is like a yellow block, okay, that's a beautiful yellow block, but there's absolutely no way that I can attach this to a suitcase because there's no mechanism for attaching it to anything. Okay, so has to be attached to a suitcase. It has to reflect the academic or school theme that your team is assigned, and it must be 3D printable. So the plan is to bust out the 3D printer and get the 3D printer going. So you can keep in mind like how a 3D printer manufactures something. It's called an additive method. And the way a 3D printer works is it's kind of like a hot glue gun for plastic. And it's got like a tube with plastic in it, and it melts the plastic with like what's called an extruder, and it layers the plastic down and then like builds something by layering like the plastic on top of it. And so it builds it layer by layer by layer, kind of like a hot glue gun. You might like layer the glue on top of like a previous layer. Okay, that's how it works. Some designs are really, really good for 3D printing. Anything that can be built like from the bottom up or side up would work well with 3D printing. Things that have like lots of overhanging components and stuff are not as friendly for 3D printing. So when you get like past the brainstorm, and again, it's why you don't want to lock onto that first idea, because your first idea might be awesome, but it's not 3D printable. So you want to have some other ideas, in your bag there. But I can kind of go over like whatever design you want to pick and let you know if that design is going to work well with the 3D printer. Constraints: your luggage tag must be no bigger than 2 inches by 3 inches by 1/4 inch. Okay, so it can be smaller than that, but it can't be any bigger than that. Now, that does not include any parts that will be needed to attach it to the suitcase, such as string or rubber bands, because you need to have that mechanism or way to attach it. And so it doesn't have to include that. Okay, it's like just the tag part itself. You should also be aware that like 3D printed plastic is a very stiff kind of plastic. So if your design involves something that needs to be flexible, you're going to have to like kind of get around that another way, because the 3D printer plastic is very rigid. Okay. It may not have more than 3 separate 3D printable files. We learned this the hard way last year when students were designing some things and they had like multiple parts to them. So I know like one student had she was designing like a way of like a glasses case to put your glasses in, and she had like a little hinge thing on it, and she wanted to lock them together, and she did both parts of it in the same file. And when we went to print it, there was no way the 3D printer could do it. And sometimes like one of the pieces like ends up floating up in the air. And if you remember what I just said about the way a 3D printer builds something, it's like from the bottom up. So if you have like a piece that's floating up in the air, it's not gonna work well. So if you have multiple parts, so if your luggage tag has like different pieces of it that you're going to need to attach together somehow, they must be designed in separate files. And then I forget what let me hide my face there. Multiple pieces in one file will result in serious printing errors, but I don't want more than 3 files from your team. So you need to reduce the number of files. And here's the timeline for the project. And again, if I'm using this video for a year other than 2021, 2022, we'll replace this with your due dates. But these are subject to change. You guys have been around the block enough to know that we have the best plans for everything, and stuff happens. And so on the 18th and 19th, I know there are several students that still have multi-view files that need to get turned in. And so I want to make sure I allow adequate class time or reasonable amount of class time for that to get done. So on the 18th and 19th, we're just going to introduce the project, form our teams, and get your assigned theme. So you get a chance to meet the people you're going to be working with and what your theme is going to be, and just kind of get acquainted and start tossing out a few ideas. On the 20th and 21st, I want you to complete some background research on luggage tags. Don't assume that you know everything there is to know about them, or that you have a handle on what like design options might be out there that have proven feasible in the past. So look at the size, the style, potential theme ideas. If you got like a baseball themed luggage tag, look and see what's out there for baseball themed luggage tags. What ideas are workable for this project? Some of them won't be, some of them might be, and some might give you an idea of your own to build on. And then you will complete and submit your brainstorming board. So there's no actual like work in Fusion done on the 20th and 21st. Okay, you're just going to research and brainstorm. By the 22nd and the 25th, you will choose which design to pursue and then design it in Fusion 360. It has to be designable in one class period. Okay, so whatever choice you have, it has to be something that you can manage to design, get it properly dimensioned, check those units, because with so many students in IED this year, I cannot just like reprint your stuff because you designed it in millimeters when you meant inches. that's an avoidable error and it needs to be avoided. Then you'll submit a .stl file to be 3D printed. Printing may take several days, so you cannot be late with this step. The plan is for you guys to work in partners, and so that means that I will have probably 30 luggage tags to print, and I'm thinking I can probably print about 6 of them at a time, maybe 7, but I think closer to 6. So I will probably have to do about 5 print jobs over 2 days. And I will get the printer running the moment I have enough luggage tags to fill what's called the build plate. So you can't be late with that step. It needs to be a doable project in one day. And then the 26th and the 27th, revise your design and reprint if needed. This is, I'm really hoping we don't have to do a lot of reprints. I'm not going to be able to do 30 reprints, but if there are a couple of teams that have an issue that you can fix that might make the difference between winning and not winning, then we'll try to get that done. And you will write a 3 to 5 sentence description of the concept behind your design to convince your client to choose yours. I had to make my face disappear for a second so I could see what was underneath it. And so there will be, if we have about 30 teams, the plan is to have about 6 different teachers that are going to evaluate those designs based on that particular theme. And you're going to write just 3 to 5 sentences describing what your design idea was and why that person should pick your design. You're not going to put your names on it. I'll know your name, but the person evaluating it is not going to know who is submitting that design, and they will choose the winner. So, and the winning team will get some kind of prize. At this moment, I have an idea, but we'll see how that pans out. So that is the overview for the project and the timeline, and let me know if you have any questions.